So center awareness, becoming aware that we have a center, a physical center, and therefore a mental, breath, and energetic center as well. But first, claiming that physical center, and that becomes the locus into which we can settle everything else. Then from there, let's see if we can open up the spine. Release and drop the shoulders. Am I holding the lower back? Or can I release it and let it be long? Let the energy flow down into the ground. And then can I let the energy flow up? So from approximately mid-back, this is one way of approaching it, approximately mid-back. Let the energy flow down, lengthening, straightening the spine somewhat. It flows down through the tailbone into the ground. And then from midway, the rest of the way up, the energy flows up the back of the neck, over the back of the head, and that energy movement, that energy flow elongates, straightens and elongates the back. Again, that flow down elongates this lower part of the spine. And then you're doing that a little bit more softly, energetically, rather than muscularly or forcing it. So running the energy down the back, into the ground, and up the back, past the top of the head. Everything else in between, just release. Let those shoulders sit, belly release. And emphasize the out breath, releasing each time you breathe out. A couple other physical, technical alignment things which clarifies everything energetically. The knees, either physically you rotate them away from each other, or energetically feel like they're repulsed away from each other. Let the ribcage just hang neutrally. So notice if you're sunken a little bit or pushed out a little bit, see if we can find the exact middle place, the exact neutral place, like a birdcage hanging, just hanging neutrally. So, and let's actually use the contrasting mechanism, very, very, very helpful. So let's, on purpose, push out a little bit. The chest is pushed out. And so we know that's not it. And then contrast that again with sunken in. And maybe 2 or 3 more times, a little bit past neutral, a little bit beyond neutral, going back. And kind of play your way into finding a nice, soft, neutral place for the torso and the ribcage. And again, reminding yourself to release the abdomen, hang the tailbone, background of the head. Energy going up, energy going down, same time. And let this all open and release here in the middle of the abdomen. And again, being conscious that we're centralizing our mind, breath, and energy in the physical center of the body. And using that out breath as a catalyst for releasing bits of tension. And whenever you like, in particular, it's good if it's on the out breath, release those hands into a little swing and just kind of allow them, encourage them, and allow them to continue swinging with that initial momentum on that first drop. So require a little bit of intention to keep them going. Remember to hang out. Probably have to tune into the abdomen again. Notice extra tension that creeped in as soon as you start moving the arms and all those things throughout the body. And a little bit of an intention to have those arms continue, but you can really take the effort out of it if you really physically emphasize the down drop. The down drop. So each time the arms are crossed in front, see how freely and completely you can allow the arms just to free fall down, straight down and away from the body. So each time the arms come up to the cross, is another opportunity to let go and gently challenging yourself, how much can I release? How much can I let go? And just enjoying the experience of this very simple arm swing. How much non-doing can we do? How much can we tune into that natural movement, natural flow? And then scan the body, check in, adjust abdomen, lower back, back of the neck, those things. Another physical thing you can check is letting the physical weight of the arms and hands and even the physical movement of the arms, pulling the shoulders even more straight down. Allow, maybe even exaggerate the filling of the abdomen as you breathe in, retracing and emptying of the abdomen as you breathe out. Again, hang the hips, point the tailbone. Feel your hands, even your fingertips, as a pendulum. So the weight is at the very end of the arm. And that free swinging pendulum just keeps the action going. Hang, elongate the spine, release the abdomen, back of the neck, back to the lower back. And deciding to then let gravity completely take over, you can take the intention out of it. The intention now is simply to hang out, completely neutral, hang straight, vertical, and being with the process of the arms being pulled into vertical stillness as you hang out and breathe. Again, if you do these, in this case, we're doing arm swings, whether it be arm drops or arm swings, all of them, one of them. If you work with them for a few minutes at a time, they change you. Something as simple as this is profoundly changing. Spending 5-7 minutes with any one of these arm drops or arm swings will change you physically and therefore energetically, mentally, emotionally. Okay, now getting a little bit subtle and focused, we're going to bring our hands back to the dantian, or back to the center just below the navel. But as we've been kind of exploring a little bit over the last few weeks, we want to do that movement through lengthening. Let me illustrate that, what I mean. So if you just watch first, I'm going to bring my hands to my dantian, but not in a lengthening fashion, in a contracting fashion, a normal fashion. I'm literally contracting my biceps, and I'm kind of, to maybe make that more visible, I'm coming in and up. Shoulders, everything is tightening, especially the abdomen, shoulders, I'm even noticing my upper back tightening to get there. In fact, again, out of the interest of contrast, let's all do that a few times, kind of do the normal thing. Contract your biceps, maybe even your pecs, and notice any other tension that happens. Definitely, you'll probably notice your abdomen tightening. So we're doing this very physically, muscularly. Bring the hands from hanging straight down to the dantian, but doing that muscularly, the normal way. And notice how everything tightens, shortens, comes in, comes up. Good. Now, as best you can, and this just comes through using your intention, and at first just your imagination. And you'll probably, well, first you'll need to do this very, very slow a few times, and eventually it doesn't matter about speed, you can keep the quality that we want. We want to get the hands to that same place through a lengthening of the arms. So a lengthening on the outside of your arms, a lengthening of the outside of the arms. If you lengthen along the outside edge of the arms, like growing curve, like growing curvature, will swing the arms up. Notice if you lose that elongation, that growing curvature, and halfway through, shorten to come up. So lengthen, 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 lengthen. And notice if you lose it in the last couple inches, you shorten to come in and up. So lengthen it, lengthen it, lengthen it, lengthen it. It's a long way around, so it should take a while. And then rest there for a breath or two, and then drop the hands again with gravity completely. Notice and appreciate gravity, the arms hanging freely, naturally. When you're ready, try that again, 2 or 3 more times. And you want to start the lengthening process first. And I mentioned this the last few classes as well. I don't want to move my arms and try to get the lengthening. You won't really get it. You start the mental aspect first, the intentional aspect first. Physical movement is second. It's last on the list. So try to lengthen through the outside edge of your arm, through your little finger, lengthening with your intention, with your energy, with your imagination. And it's because of that, that's what moves your arm. So you want to do it intention first, energy movement first, and then let the physical movement follow after that. And then again, rest at the Dantian, feel the weight of your hands there. 2 or 3 deep breaths to release the residual tension that probably accumulated and focusing so strongly to do that. On the out breath, release the hands. Stay with it as the arms swing very small and slow. And naturally, gradually come to hanging stillness again. Check your breathing, check the abdomen. And when you're ready, elongate through the outside edges of the arms, through the little fingers, elongating. Send the energy along the outside edge of the arms to get the arms back into that position over the Dantian. Hang out, breathe. Once you come to hanging stillness again with the arms, one more time, let's contrast. The contrasting really can turn the light on these things, make things more clear, more obvious. So physically, contractually, primitively, bring the hands to the Dantian. And again, even drop them in a normal fashion, which won't be really won't be a free drop. It'll be a mechanical drop. Notice the difference, not only in the physical quality, but everything deeper than that. Physically, muscularly bringing the arms up, physically, muscularly putting the arms down. Okay, now once more, let's go back to the energetic, hang out, release, breathe. Send the energy along the outside edge of your arms, right through the outside edge of the little fingers, and that energy vector, energy flow continues infinitely into an infinitely long curve, and that's what's moving through your arm to drive them into movement. Lengthening and opening. Enjoy the rest here at the Dantian for a few breaths. And then when you're ready, on an out breath, release them, let them swing naturally, gently, completely naturally letting gravity take the arms and hands into vertical stillness. And once or twice more like that. Notice any shortening, do it by lengthening. We're replacing a normal shortening and contracting. We're simply replacing that with the opposite, replacing it with lengthening, extending, opening. We're replacing that with the normal process. Very conscious of the fact of doing it the opposite way, replacing it with the normal way. So if you ever get confused, even if you just use your intellectual mind to do the opposite of what's normal, instead of contracting and foreshortening, you're elongating or opening or lengthening. Okay, once more through lengthening, bring the hands to the Dantian. Rest the weight of your hands there. Enjoy that sensation of resting the hands and the greater acuity of awareness of your center below the navel. Remind yourself to hang out, release and open. Make sure the knees are bent maybe even a little bit more as we go into some very gentle hip circles. starting small, of course. Let your mind lead the hips. So again, the mind is still first. The body is always secondary. Mind, intention is primary, it's always first. So as long as your knees are nicely bent and your lower back is straight and long and flat, you can let those circles get a little bigger. The intention is leading the way. Notice any accumulating tension in the abdomen, anywhere else. And then gradually coming back to hanging stillness. When you're ready, send the intention the other way and send the hips the other way. Very gentle and small to start with. Growing intentional circles causes the hip rotations to become bigger. It's like the body is the sail. The body is the sail, and your mind, your intentional direction is the wind. So your body gets caught up in the wind and is moved by the wind. The sail cannot move by itself. The physical body actually can, but then the movement is empty and contracting and not holistic. So the body, a lot of the physical work we do is to condition the body, nurturing the body, cultivating the body into being a good sail, open, soft. It's not just soft. A lot of people can be soft and relaxed, but it's a dead relaxation. Collapse is dense, even though they may be soft and relaxed. So the internal arts relaxation is very different than a normal person's relaxation. It's soft, but even more primary than soft, even more important than soft, is open and opening. Open and opening. That's the primary quality. And softness comes because of that. The body starts to soften and release because the body isn't having to do and force and contrive. The body is following the movement of the mind and the energy. So it becomes a better and better servant of the mind. Slowly smaller and smaller until the hip cage is hanging vertically underneath the head. Hang out, breathe, maybe a couple extra deep breaths. We'll just get a little bit more specific. Tailbone itself, specifically, the point of the tailbone. Of course, the hips are going to move, but you're not thinking about the hips at all. You're drawing a circle on the floor, or even better, beneath the floor, beneath the ground. So probably start small again, and it's the point of the tailbone that's drawing the circle. So it might be more articulation in the pelvic girdle than just a big block spinning around. But again, the intention is leading the way. You try to soften and release the lower back and everything in the torso, soften and release that so the tailbone is free to circulate. Hang out, breathe, release the abdomen, and smaller. Gradually come back to centered stillness where the tailbone is hanging straight down like a point of a pendulum. Pointing straight down when it's hanging in stillness. Then send the tailbone by sending the intention the other direction. Slow and gradual. Breathe. The mind is doing it, not the body, not the tailbone itself. Every rotation should be a little bit more release, conscious releasing in the lower back, abdomen, entire torso region. Should be some releasing pretty much in every new rotation. Breathe. And if you accentuate and exaggerate the hangingness, that pendulum, the point of the pendulum, in this case the tailbone, will gradually hang into stillness. Just enjoy and appreciate the hanging and verticalness, the purity of hanging straight, weight through the legs and feet. Belly released. Remember the neutral rib cage. Check the back of the neck, back of the lower back, back crown, shoulders. Now, as best you can, it's totally fine and necessary in the beginning to use your imagination. Eventually, you'll be able to feel the energy respond. Imagine and feel you're expanding from this core in all directions, but it's totally okay to focus mainly on the forward direction. Each cycle of breath, let the arms get pushed out. Imagine and feel that your personal bubble of energy expands out from the Dongchen. So don't be in any hurry. Slower is better. Better to err on the side of slower. And just feel or imagine that your energy ball from your core, from the Dongchen, is expanding. And if you can, notice if you can release your shoulder joints a little bit more to allow that expansion so that you're not holding in. That's expanding and pushing your arms out. See if you can allow the body to be soft enough so that the shoulder joints themselves open and release. Eventually, just through your intention, you can have your arms and hands buoyed out, pushed out, propelled out by an expansion of energy. Once you're out there, again, remind yourself to release the shoulder and open the shoulder joints, hang the tailbone, back crown of the head, pointing straight up. Continue expanding out as you let the hands retrace a little bit, hands, arms retrace a little bit, and you may find they bounce on that ball of energy, and you almost couldn't bring them in. If you have to work really hard to bring them in. So let the arms and hands oscillate a little bit, away from you and towards you, maybe just an inch or two, out and then back in. And again, you may feel a pressure, a magnetic ball, a fluid, where it would take some effort to actually push your hands closer towards you. Hang the hips, point the back crown of the head. Let the opening, expanding shoulder joints pull the shoulders straight down. Moving from this Buddha belly position to standing tree, again, do it by purely lengthening. Opening your shoulder joints more, expanding your arms more, expanding your bubble of energy more. And that is the gears for your arms to be moved to the next higher position in front of the sternum or lower chest. And open and release here. Feel free to go down to the Buddha belly whenever you need to if you're getting a bit weary. We're going to go back and forth between these two positions. So you can go on your own timing when you change. It's just that when you change, do it through the process of lengthening and or opening. So rather than moving and then try to open, as I mentioned before, lengthen, open with the intention, with the feeling first, and let the arms move after that, and eventually because of that. So you can hang out at that new position for a couple breaths or a few breaths, each time opening, releasing, scanning the body. And again, when you move, do it with the intention first, opening, expanding, lengthening, enlarging. And that is the crane, the mechanism that drives the arms to actually move. It takes a lot of concentration. If it feels very intense, then you're on the right track. It's very intense physically, it's very intense mentally and energetically. It requires all of your being. So it's very, very intense. Notice the accumulating tension because of that, and consciously, as best you can, release and open. Remind yourself to release, soften the abdomen, let the abdomen expand, let the abdomen grow bigger, literally, physically. Let the upper back open and expand. Shoulder blades float away from each other and float down at the same time. Lengthening to move to the next position. And back to Buddha belly. Hang out there for a moment, allowing shoulder joints to open even more, release, arms grow longer, tailbone enters the ground, back crown of the head pointing straight up. Very, very slowly, pulse the arms again, breathing in, a little bit of expansion, breathing out, settling back. So just moving an inch or two or three, breathing in, pushes the arms out, breathe out, settling back. So as best you can, try not to do that muscularly. You're doing it because of the breath or the intention. Breathing in, expanding, pushes everything out. Breathe out, settling back a little bit. Eventually, you'll actually still feel that bubble of energy where even as the hands retrace a little bit back towards the body, they can only go so far because of that bubble. Now, very slowly, independent of the breath, push your hands very slowly back towards the body, and as if you have to push through that bubble. So take your time with that. Every once in a while, do an in-breath and expand out another 2 or 3 inches, and then push back towards the body, gradually, eventually getting a little bit closer to the physical body. But again, every once in a while, breathe in and pulsing back out again. Expanding back out, and then pressing through that pressure, very slowly towards the body. Especially if you start to lose that pressure and lose that bubble, breathe in again to expand, and then rediscover that pressure, pushing back towards the body. Notice if your shoulder joints have contracted. With your feeling and intention, release and open those shoulder joints again. Scan the body, make the adjustments, release and open. Notice any foreshortening, tightening coming in. See if you can do the opposite and release. Now, even if you haven't quite gotten to the physical body, if you haven't quite touched the physical body, that's good. From here, wherever you're at now, continue to hang out and breathe. In a moment, we're going to very, very slowly lower the arms to hanging at the sides. But again, do that through the process of lengthening. So as you open the shoulder joints, even open the elbow joints and extend through the fingertips, growing longer, growing longer, growing longer, physically and energetically, to slowly slide the hands down to the sides. And find where the arms and hands will rest naturally at your sides. You may notice that my hands aren't falling to the physical sides of my body. They're sliding and falling into where they're hanging naturally. They're hanging, but they're also buoyed. Back of the neck, lower back, back crown, feet, abdomen. Gently rock out. Any questions or comments? Feel your body, check your spine. As best you can, take these qualities and feelings into Toyus. Be very good if you just take a moment though and see if you can recapture some of that. So that buoyedness here or up here, simply translate here or up here, simply translating that to here. So instead of holding my arms up, and again, the normal thing, hold the arms up, everything's come in. Same sort of feeling. You just have a slightly different shape. Slightly different shape. Let those shoulder joints open. Let the energy be generous, expansive. Hang out, be a soft and open body so it's a good sail for the movement of mind. Whenever you're ready to some just basic Toyu movement, as best you can, staying with the feeling, open, buoyed, expansive, whatever sensations you can carry with you into this basic movement. And so again, right now, we're not worried about technically perfect toy use. For example, I'm not coming all the way back to my body. My one hand is not over the other hand. We're back to, it's hard for me to do that. Just like when we're doing the standing Qigong, I mentioned it can be hard to push your hands back towards your body because of the Peng energy. Peng is the expansive energy. So I'm not going to force my hands into the technical position. It is more important to have the energy flow and the energy quality. This is about as far, as close to my body and to the hands to each other as I can do it, unless I break the chi bubble or break that energetic field. So you're keeping these things that we've been cultivating and the standing, also known as Wuji, standing practice, into movement, and continuing to cultivate an open body, a body that is a good sail, a good cultured servant of the mind. Open, extended, soft, expansive. And whenever you need to, want to, switch your feet, but even when you switch your stance, try to stay with that standing posture feeling, a standing practice. So try not to collapse anything. And again, movement is not only not primary, it's not even necessary. So don't start moving into toy use. Get the quality feeling first. Even if you can't get a lot of that quality and feeling, move your intention, move your mind first, let your body follow, rather than just going into the toy use on the other side. So an opportunity to work on all these things in a bit more of movement. Continuing to be aware of the body, what you need to release and open. Notice tensions that have accumulated. Again, changing stances whenever you want to, whenever you need to. And when you come back, hold the ball. We'll go into parting horse's mane. And see how expansive you can allow it to be. Again, not the technical shape, we're not worried about that. How expansive can you allow it to be? How much of those qualities and feelings can you retain and allow? Feel free if you have any questions or comments at any time. What's really, really helpful and educational is notice when you lose any of these things. They come back into foreshortening, contracting, tightening, coming in and or coming up. For example, this would be a real easy one to happen, a very common one to happen. My back arm, my back elbow, pretty open and expansive here, pretty round. And I'm moving within that energy bubble, within that chi bubble. I'm staying quite nice and open. However, out of physical habit, what will tend to happen is that elbow stays back a little bit, which also means the muscles in the upper back between the shoulder blades stay tight. That's very normal. It's a lot of deep habit there. So even though I'm fairly open, fairly round, there's actually this part here is fairly contracted. That elbow is pointing way back there rather than being open, which means it would be more in front of me, out to the side and more in front. If it's staying back here a little bit, it's because of the tension in the shoulder and upper back. So noticing things like that. So I noticed that my arm is staying back a little bit, it's not punged out, it's not expanded out, then I can then take this feeling and put it into that part that's tight. Kind of allow that part, my upper back, to be more long, in this case, laterally long, more open, more released. So you can start to be very directive and specific about it and do it in specific areas and parts of your body. And as you get better at noticing, the mind becomes keener, your awareness becomes keener. It's called Ting in Chinese or Tai Chi. Ting is inner awareness, inner feeling. As that becomes keener, sharper, more sensitive, you start to notice more and more things, which can be very frustrating and deflating in and of itself. So you have to psychologically turn that around. Each time you notice another tension, there's never any end to that, but each time you notice, it's another little minor victory, because change and development can only happen if there's the awareness first. So as you get better with your sensitivity, with your Ting, your awareness, your feeling ability, you'll notice more and more issues. That's a very, very powerful thing. That's a very good thing. If and when you change stance, try to keep the pung or expansiveness, openness, expansiveness, even as you switch your feet. Take your time to keep it before you start the next movement. Remind yourself sometimes to take a deep breath, 2 or 3, to release accumulated tension. Again, in particular, trouble spots are the shoulder coming up or the shoulder blade staying back there, elbows back there a little bit. Those are probably the more common tendencies. Of course, there's probably always some tension in the abdomen we can release a bit more. Again, feel free to let me know if you have any questions or comments. A helpful tool, a little trick that is applicable in many, many, many things, that I found that it's a bit of a trick, a very helpful tool. If you really, really emphasize the coming back movement, coming back, can I be open, let the shoulder joints open more, arms were very, very round because of the expanding energy. If I really emphasize and focus on the coming back, that can go a long way to carrying through on the forward movement. The forward movement is where people will tend to really screw up, tighten up, because that's really the doing part, going forward, right? Especially most of us in Western society. Go, 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 forward action, get things done. I go there, I do that. So this going forward part of the move is going to probably be a lot of doingness, a lot of extra stuff put in there, a lot of tension, a lot of tightness, a lot of contraction. Emphasize the coming back, releasing, emptying, opening, letting go, coming back. And then you can take at least some of that flavor going forward, and then notice when you lose that. Emphasize the coming back. Anybody noticing that helps? That changes things? Hang out, release.
I'm noticing like a sense of like my spine spiraling down in the coming back, which I've been having, like in doing this, having some, pain and discomfort between my shoulder blades, probably related to what we did in training yesterday in Aikido, but yeah, that really just dropped the effort out of that space, which was nice.
Coming back kind of actualize that change. As you become more aware of these things, that's a very, very tangible tool. It's emphasizing one aspect, one half of the move, and that can flow over into the rest of the move with intention and allowance. Now, going into can you keep this pung, again, pung is expansive energy, expanding out like a balloon filling. Can you take this into some more movement? This is the challenge. The challenge is taking it into more movement, which is now stepping, doing a room length or two, the same movement. And simply notice when you lose stuff and release, open, and get those sensations and qualities back as best you can, at least to some degree. Of course, the tendency is when we stand into one leg, is when we pull in and pull up. So that's why we do room lengths. It's a tremendous opportunity, especially when we're standing on one leg. As we start to stand into one leg, start to stand up, that's where we lose it all. So there are tremendous opportunities in those transition places. So at the very least, simply notice what you lose when you lose it. Again, that's a win. And then just do your best to see how much you can get back. And often that means slowing down. And again, one of the challenges we want to give ourselves is to not slow down. When we're ready, we want to even speed up and get closer and closer to regular everyday speeds and movements and still keep the Tai Chi. And that's a major, I'm gonna say a major aim. We don't want to get too caught up in these goals, but just to let you know that this is not all just getting these qualities and feelings when you're doing Tai Chi and moving very, very slow. One of the really important benefits that Tai Chi gives us is we can take these Tai Chi qualities and health qualities into any and all movement, even when we're moving at hyper speed in an extremely busy day, trying to meet a deadline or what have you. We can actually carry more and more of the Tai Chi into that as well. And that's when everything becomes very practical, very helpful, very practical. Okay. Any comments or questions? Let's take this into another specific move in the set, a transition in the set. Carry tiger to mountain. So let me just illustrate that once. Again, I'm going to start by hanging from the string, pong. Take a moment to get all those qualities as much as possible. And let's see how open and expansive, this is the main thing I want to focus on right now. How open and expansive can I be as I transition? And then we'll continue with the whole move of carry tiger to mountain, because there's lots of good rounded shapes here. Notice when you contract and pull in and tighten in. Okay, so let's do some of those together. Well, we can start together and then you can go totally on your own time. Hang out. Actually, pardon me, let's start this together. Open, expansive. Release the shoulders, release the abdomen. Push in a little bit, an inch or two. Go back out an inch or so. With your breath, breathe in, pushed out, breathe out, retracing back. Breathe in, expanding, breathe out, retracing back. Eventually, if you feel it now, that's wonderful, but eventually, if you don't, that's fine. Eventually, you will feel that pressure. You'll feel that chi bubble. It's a real thing. It's not an imaginative thing. It's a real palpable thing eventually. And then purely by opening and lengthening, the arms are moved into the next position. Hang out there for a moment, a breath or two or three. Move back to Buddha belly, purely and only through the process of opening and lengthening. Breathe, breathe. Do that one more time. Lengthening to get there. Opening, lengthening first. That drives the movement. Whenever you get back to the Buddha belly, a few more times, pulsating with the breath. Now, by lengthening as best you can, only because of and through lengthening, the arms will cross at the wrists, but it's by lengthening, opening, lengthening, arms get longer, energy flows further, shoulders open more. And from here, we'll move into Carry Tiger, and as best you can, keep what you have and simply notice when you lose it, what you lose, and maybe slow down a little bit more to get it back. Breathe, hang out. Not worried about perfect form right now. We'll do perfect form, working on form in another class. Right now, it's keeping those qualities. Keeping nicely inflated like a balloon. If it's hard for you to bring your hands together, you're experiencing it. Go at your own time, your own pacing that you need to do to keep it. When you go back to cross hands again for the next Carry Tiger, again, do that by lengthening your arms. Take your time, go really slow. Lengthening your arms to get there, opening a big embrace, getting bigger and bigger, not coming up and crossing your wrist. Expanding out, opening up, releasing the abdomen. You can even do a few of the pulsations if you want. That'd be really good. And you get to, it might even be hard to cross those wrists. That's good. You don't have to cross them all the way. So trigger that same expansive pung energy before you start as best you can. How about the abdomen? Can you release that? Allow that to expand? What about the shoulder joints? Back of the neck? Back of the lower back? Any comments or questions? Just come back, Buddha belly, hang out, lengthen the spine, open the shoulder joints, release the abdomen, pulse with the breath. And again, eventually, at least, pulsing with the breath doesn't mean moving your arms as you breathe. It's the breath that's moving your arms. Breathing in, everything expands, pushes your arms out, pushes the body open. Breathing out allows the body to retrace. So allow the breath to do the pulsing for you. And each time you pulse, let those shoulder joints get a little bit more open, more released. Hang the tailbone, back crown, floating straight up. Then keeping as much of that as you can, going into the beginning of repulse monkeys. You notice it has a very, very open round shape. From here or here is very, very similar with the same feeling. Whenever you're ready, move into some repulse monkeys. Take your time, notice when you lose it, and it's okay actually to come back and see if you can catch it again. Expanding, opening first, body movement is secondary. Hanging out, open, released, expanding, it's primary. The physical movement and the correct shape, that's last on the list right now. Notice how much you can keep. Notice what and when you lose it. And even halfway in between, you can go back to that Buddha belly, pulsing if you want, and then bring that back into the movement. It is very, very wonderful when you start to feel that tongue energy, the expansive, and it's very open feeling, very holistic, very healthful feeling. It's like a warm fuzzy, not only all the way through you, but all around you. It's very pleasant, very healthful. That will happen. And these are the steps that are paving the way to opening up the doors for those experiences to happen to you. Okay. Let's come back to standing. Any comments or questions about anything we've done tonight?
So I'm really noticing like it's like a contradictory thing at the same time. So I'm feeling much more up and out, but I'm not at all feeling like I'm not grounded.
Right, yeah.
So maybe more expansion up, because that's never that kind of, that's always been an imagined thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Like
so now you're having a more tangible experience of the up aspect?
yeah, like I've always tried for that, but I'm not sure I've ever felt it.
Okay. So what's nice is you're also not losing the groundedness, as you say. Can you just say a word or two or three to describe how that new sensation feels or makes you feel?
I mean, the sense like with more of this pung quality, like in any of the movements, feeling much more of myself as up, and a more palpable sense of the top half of my spine having a buoyancy. I think I've always focused on the down, so
Right.
meant if my spine expands, it's the lower third
Okay.
for groundedness, but to kind of have the groundedness and the lift up, which is yeah, feels very spacious. Like
That's really, really nice. And so, because as you said, you've experienced that down from here down or so, and now experiencing this, it's a completely new experience, isn't it? Something that you couldn't imagine or fabricate or imagine how it would feel, and now you felt it. You couldn't imagine what that was like, right?
yeah, I mean, it feels a little bit like somebody shot my upper spine full of air or something.
Yeah, that's a very good sign. That's a very good way of putting it. And almost always these things have a very, very pleasant quality to them, to the extent that you want to keep it always. You want to really always have it. Of course, we'll lose it. And at first we'll lose it quite quickly, but it feels so good that you want to be able to take this with you always. It feels that good. Okay, so let's finish with this Wuji Standing, also known as Zanzhuang. Hang out, try to bring these qualities in. I won't say maybe too much. Let's see if you can checklist physically and or energetically. Now, as best you can, through lengthening, bringing your arms over to the Dantian through lengthening and resting there. Maybe you can even allow the extra weight of just your hands on your torso. That extra weight also exits through your legs and feet. Breathing in, expanding the abdomen, breathing out, releasing tensions. On the next breath or two, when you breathe out, decide to let the hands free fall and let them swing ever so naturally as you hang out and breathe naturally into the abdomen, watching, noticing, feeling a natural swing in those arms, enjoying not doing that, just letting gravity very gradually take the arms naturally to lengthened vertical stillness, enjoying that process, being with that process. Gently scanning the rest of the body as you're very conscious of the feel of the arms, the weight of the arms, the tingling in the arms and hands. Breath in the abdomen. Out breath is a long releasing breath. Gently shifting your weight side to side, knees are unlocked. And one foot opens with the weight on the other leg. Shift the weight, release the empty leg. Gently rock out. Thank you very much, everyone.